Hey everybody, Pete Meier, Motor Age Magazine. I should probably more correctly say Vehicle Repair Group, and Endeavor Business Media. That, of course, is Motor Age, ABRN, P10, Professional Distributor, and Aftermarket Business World. So that no matter what part of the aftermarket you are involved in, we've got you covered. And I'd like to welcome a special guest today, Brian Plott. Brian is the Executive Director of ETI. Brian, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time today to join me.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the invite.
Now, for many of you who are watching, you may not know what ETI stands for or even who they are. ETI stands for, of course, the Equipment and Tool Institute. It's an industry nonprofit, and they play a major part in what you end up seeing in your shops in terms of the tooling, especially diagnostic tooling that you're using. And they have an event coming up first week of May. But before we start talking about that, Brian, tell us, and those who are watching, give us a little history about ETI, because I know you guys are getting ready to celebrate your 75th anniversary.
Right. All right. Thank you. Yes, we are celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. It's been interesting digging back into the archives to see exactly where we came from. While it may seem a long way back to 1947, it's not as far as it seems, but it's amazing how many companies and so forth, as I've been researching, were founding members or original members that are still members today. Some have been acquired and so forth, but the big players back then, many of them are still the big players here today in terms of equipment and tools and diagnostics and service information and so forth. A lot of things have diversified, obviously, as things have evolved. But we're with what we're seeing right now in the automotive segment, things are evolving at a really crazy pace, and the tool manufacturers are trying to keep up and develop the new products to make the lives of today's technicians as good and as easy as it was, in years gone by. It's a much bigger challenge these days. So most of our members, like I said, are equipment or tool or diagnostics or repair service information and telematics product developers. So a lot of our bigger players are on a global scale and really represent a huge portion of the market that's out there. ETI carries a unique spot in the industry in that, going back to our original foundation, we've tried to work not only with the automotive aftermarket side of the fence, but also with the OEMs to try to be collaborative where we can for the betterment of the overall industry, as opposed to being any kind of a confrontational type of relationship. That happens from time to time, but we work those things out. One of the other things that ETI does and has done for a number of years is we house the repository for the OEM data that's required for tool makers to be able to build the tools, especially diagnostics and telematics. So we house that, manage the licensing and distribution of that for the OEMs. There's nothing in it for us other than the role that we play in the industry in facilitating and providing that information. So it's exciting to be coming up and like I said, celebrating the 75th anniversary. Our registrations and everything are looking fantastic. So we're really expecting this is going to be a really great event. We have some guests from our past that are coming that are going to be able to see each other for the first time in many years, and make some old friends and see some old acquaintances. So looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a blast.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit more about that because, again, you're 75 years young in terms, not you, but ETI,
Well, not both.
right? And you mentioned some of the major players that are still with your company, but certainly the challenges facing these equipment and tool manufacturers have totally changed, especially probably over the last 20 years alone, right? So, what are some of the things that well, I guess I should back up a step. What's the mission of ETI? What role does ETI play in meeting those challenges?
ETI is basically plays a role of working with the OEMs to get the information, to get the data, and provide the aftermarket tool makers with what they need to be able to continue to make tools and create solutions, if you will, for some of those technological challenges that they're all facing these days. If you look at the big one for the last several years has been ADAS and the adoption of ADAS, the impact on everything, impact on regular repair, impact on the OEM dealer service centers, impact on collision. That's had a big impact, and as those systems get older in the marketplace, we continue to see new and newer things coming out of that the repair space needs to be aware of. So we try to get as much of that information and communicate that back to our members as possible. We actually, some of our initiatives that we have going on internally are to grow and improve communications internally and externally, so that we're providing more of that information that we get visibility to as it comes up. The way we're structured, we're very small, but we're small and carry a big stick.
Right. Yeah,
My chief technology officer, Greg Potter, he handles all the technical side of things. I tend to handle more of the commercial side of things, and between the two of us, it really comes together and gels very nicely. He yesterday morning, was spent half the day on ISO meetings. Greg is very ingrained with ISO and SAE and California Resources Board and other places, and actually sits on some of the panels and so forth at ISO and helps guide, in the best interests of our members, guide things relative to diagnostics and information in a direction that will continue to make it better for our members. So he does a great job.
And I guess for clarification of those who are watching, ISO, of course, stands for the International Standards Organization, similar to this SAE. These organizations that help set these standards from everything from, how that seat is shaped to what kind of fuel engine parameters, the whole spectrum when it comes to the building and servicing and troubleshooting these vehicles. So right. I guess it's fair to say that too, Brian, that any technician out there with an aftermarket tool in his hand, scan tool in his hand, that has some type of enhanced data for Ford, Toyota, Benz, whatever, really has ETI to thank for that in a big way.
In a way, you're absolutely correct. We don't like to take the credit for it. We just like to help them out. But we maintain a very strong relationship with a lot of the OEMs that are out there, and we work together. So I think at our winter ToolTech event our winter Tech Week event that we had in December out in Diamond Bar, California, we had, I believe, 11 OEMs that were represented there. We're currently looking at 8 that will be represented at our ToolTech event here later this month or beginning of next month in San Diego. So they participate with us. We share information. They try to help and make it easier on everybody. And we're seeing changes there in that model, where in the past it would be they would just send us a periodic update and we just distribute the data for them. Now it's the thing, you've got cybersecurity. That's all very proprietary intellectual property that's got to be protected and maintained. And we have to do all of that. We work with AWS very heavily on that for our distribution. And there's a lot more facets to it all, to getting it to the street in place now than what it has been in past years. Yeah. Many of the OEs are moving to licensing models as opposed to just providing the data. So that's another part that's changing in the world, and I'm sure there's more things on the horizon here that are going to have an impact on the way things work. It's our job to keep up with them, keep our membership informed, and try to listen to them to steer our actions in terms of going and getting what it is that they need, and try and give them to exposures to as much of this as we possibly can. So absolutely.
And now, again, let's talk a little bit about the event you got coming up, ToolTech 2022. Sure. Now, let me just say right off the bat, ToolTech, this, guys, gals, you're watching, this is not a tool show. So, it's amazing if you go to their website. What's that website address, Brian?
It's www.etools.org.
And you can click on the link for the ToolTech 2022.
Right.
And I encourage you to take a look at that. and some of the topics that are going to be discussed there. This is stuff that impacts the industry as a whole. A lot of information that you would like to know about. Of course, we'll be there reporting on scene for you and bringing you some of that, courtesy of Brian and his staff at ETI. So keep on the lookout here and your favorite social media platform where you happen to be watching this, because you'll see it there as well. I encourage you to check in with that. Or it's still not too late. You could probably get some information on actually attending if that was the case. So
Absolutely, it's all there.
Exactly. So Brian, if I'm new and you're telling me about the show or the event that you're having, how would you kind of give me that elevator speech about what to expect and why I should be there?
Well, probably the biggest things are networking and seeing what's new. You mentioned about the tools. There will be tools there. We have part of part of the event is on the first night. We have a company spotlight. It's 2 hours. We basically set up in the hotel. We set up a mini trade show. All of these equipment and tool, or not all of them, but many of the tool and equipment companies come and they set up on a little, 8x8 booth and show their wares to. And it's obviously it's all product that's out there on the market, but they show off their wares because you've got OEMs and you've got other aftermarket entities that are there, that it gives them exposure to some of the new things that they're doing. They're going to get to learn about new technologies, about, we're doing new emerging tire technologies, chips in tires, and helping communicate with us, and things like that. There's all kinds of new things that are out there, especially with everybody's talking about EVs now. It's definitely the talk of the town. How many people out there know how to service them? So we're talking about education from that perspective. We've got some guys that are going to be showing them some of the new tools and equipment that you need to have if you're going to play serious in that space. Give them education on what that space is going to look like. What are the things they're going to be facing? What do the vehicles look like and the technologies look like? It's just a lot of things. We're going to have a panel. You get to hear from the OEM panel where you get to talk to the OEMs and hear what they have to say right from the horse's mouth. They'll be sitting there in the facility with us. There's just a tremendous amount of information that will get shared. And for the business side of things, where it's less technical, we're going to have them covered as well. So they'll be doing presentations that set the groundwork for the kind of opportunities that are facing us right now. Easy to go out right now and look around in the industry and go like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. It is, but we're going to help them find ways to find their niche, dig in, and here's how you get the information and everything you need to get yourself set up in that direction and run with it. So it's a positive, upbeat type of couple of days. And then the big thing that everybody loves is the OEM one-on-ones. We arrange, think of it like speed dating. We arrange quite a number of rooms, and anybody who registers can sign up to participate. You can talk to an OEM, you can talk to other suppliers, you can talk to whomever you want to. You sign up for that, and it goes through an automated process. It all gets distributed, and we're going to have 14 breakout rooms running 20-minute sessions between different OEMs and different other suppliers and what have you. They're enclosed. They're in a room all by themselves, totally private, full NDAs in place, but they actually get to sit and ask the questions and get answers to what their questions are.
Very interesting. And I'm really looking forward to this thing, because this will be my first time. So I'm very looking forward to attending the event to see with that. It almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like the ETI is more on a level of like SAE's World Congress than say a regional training event, maybe like a Vision or ATE kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Would that be a reasonable comparison?
Yeah, that would be a good analogy. It's like I said, we hold a different place in the space, and we literally and we have relationships with other associations. We have you mentioned Vision. We're going to have AASA. They did a presentation at the Vision conference. We're going to have Jim Fish come up and represent that, kind of turned a little bit to focus more on equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that good that we went back and talked to them. That was something that they had put together on their dime, but they're generous enough to come in and show that, because it's a good foundation for several other major topics that we're going to be talking about. So it builds the opportunity, and here's the other solutions that you have right behind that.
Yeah, so if you're watching and you have an interest in a higher level of what's going on in the industry, how it impacts each other, how it impacts you and your business, by all means, again, go to, and correct me if I'm wrong, etitools.org.
etools.org.
Etools, excuse me.
etools.org. Yep.
etools.org. In fact, I'm going to
Yep.
put that in the chat there so you guys can access it while you're watching.
That'd be great.
And another thing I'm very excited about to see is the shop owners panel that's scheduled for the event. What can you tell me about that?
That is something that we've had for several years. I came in 2019, and I came in just in time to do the ToolTech event in Charlotte, North Carolina. We had a group from North Carolina of shop owners there from a shop owners association that came in locally and did a representation as a shop owners panel. We had the luck and good fortune of bringing them back this past year when we did our ToolTech in Texas, and having them, we asked some of the same questions, but we had them compare and contrast. Okay, here was the vision in 2019. Now here's your vision in 2021. And they just did a beautiful job of providing that, that contrast is how the world had changed for them then. So to this event, we're going to have at least one or more of that same group will be on the panel, but the panel that we have together now are going to be from the Southern California area and coming in and speaking to that market. So it'll be focused on, Ben Johnson's going to do it. He's from Mitchell One, and he'll lead them through some questions and so forth to get their insight on what they see going on, and hope that by sharing that, others can learn from that.
Oh, very good, very good. So now this is going to be dates for the event.
It's the 2nd and 3rd, right? Excuse me. May 3rd and May 4th.
Okay, and then I also want to kind of put out there for those who might be interested that the National Automotive Service Task Force, NASTF, is actually going to be on site in partnership with you guys. They'll be hosting their general meeting on Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yeah, they're doing it the day before. That's why I've had to look at these dates so many times. Okay, who's on what day? So they're on Monday before we get into ours. But we have a lot of crossover members that are members of both organizations. We work very closely with NASTF throughout the year on numerous different things, anything in the interest of our members or their members. So
awesome. Well, so it's going to be May 2nd through the 4th, right? 3rd and 4th for you guys. May 2nd for NASTF.
Right.
It's going to be in Southern California at the
Coronado. It's the Coronado Marriott on Coronado Island.
Okay,
awesome. Not the Del Coronado. That was the one that, of course, the year we were doing the Del Coronado was the year we had COVID. So it never happened.
Venue, right? Beautiful venue. Yep. And again, the website is in the chat window wherever you're watching. It's etools.org. I invite you to go there, look up the event information under ToolTech 2022 75th anniversary for the Equipment and Tool Institute. Should be a great event. I encourage you to check it out. And if you can make it, I'd love to see you there. And if you can't, stay in tune with us. We'll bring some of it to you. So Brian, thanks so much for taking the time to join me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter.
And I'll look forward to meeting you in person at ToolTech 2022.
Thank you. And for anybody who's taken the time to watch, thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to seeing you.
All right.
Thanks, Peter.